On his day, Osho could be one of the most, if not the most, controversial spiritual masters. But his teachings were very profound in changing human consciousness and progressing the evolution of humanity. Let's dive into what we can learn from Osho. This is arguably one of the most controversial topics ever touched upon by Osho. Throughout many centuries, sex has always been a taboo topic in almost every society, and Osho had tried to dispel this taboo. He claimed that our sexual instincts are what nature intends us to have, and not something we should avoid. It's something that we should explore more deeply without any kind of resistance in order to fully transcend it. At the moment, the human consciousness is mainly stuck on the sexual center. The sexual energy is there, but we continuously deny it. Whenever sexual energy rises in our body, we reject it, beat ourselves on it, guilt ourselves for thinking sexually, because we have been conditioned from early childhood that sex is a dangerous thing. But Osho stated that this was a mere perversion of our natural energy. We might deny the sexual energy as much as we want, but it will keep creeping into our lives through sexual thinking or desires. This is the natural consequence. We can repress the sexual energy for a while, but ultimately, we can never fight nature, including our natural body, and it will eventually explode like a volcano. When one fully accepts his sexual nature, he will at least be aware of its existence, and it will not keep accumulating in the mind. But for someone who represses his sexual instincts, the energy builds up in the mind. The sexual desire keeps getting stronger and stronger, but there's simply no outlet to release this energy. As a result, there's a possibility that he will release it in more perverse forms than a normal person would. Osho's a stout teacher of courage and how we should live more courageously in defying the conventional thinking of our society, and he had always taught by example. He's never afraid of speaking about controversial subjects that ordinary people would be in public, such as sex. When he started speaking out on sex, there were many religious groups who were clearly disturbed by his statements and were unhappy with him. But it never deterred Osho from expounding what he knew to be the truth. From the way he lived his life, we could extract one of the most valuable lessons we could learn for our own lives. We should not be afraid to live according to the truth. In other words, we should be true to our own ideals, even though other people might disagree with it and come in resistance to it. Remember, there's nothing more dishonorable than a person who regards other people's opinions higher than his own. Once he does this, he will betray his own self and start living under the whims of other people. There's no betrayal greater than the betrayal of one's own self, because it will haunt you for the rest of our lives. Especially on our deathbeds, when our whole lives came under the last examination. The judgment will be entirely based on how much we have kept our integrity and stayed true to ourselves throughout our lifetime. The more integrity we have, the more peacefully we welcome death. The less integrity, the more regrets we have, and the more resistance we have against death, because we haven't truly lived. Being alone is one of the most feared enemies of our mind. We will do almost anything to be in the company of other people these days. We call our friends, go to parties, or even enter a new relationship when we are in fact not yet ready for it. All of this for the sake of avoiding loneliness. But on a spiritual path, one has to walk alone on the journey, because this journey will relate to us more intimately than any other person. The journey is about discovering our authentic self that's not clouded by the conditionings of the society, from the family, teachers, and friends. On this path, we will find our own uniqueness that we can never find in other people, and so it's natural that we will be different to most people on earth. This feeling of being different and out of tune with the rest of the society could bring about a profound sense of loneliness, because on some levels, we will never be able to relate with other people the same way again. including our close relatives. But this is perfectly okay. This is supposed to be a lonely journey because not everyone would understand our authentic self and what it truly desires. Yes, we might feel some isolation and even be alienated from the society, but what we get from this is much more powerful than what we have lost. We will be able to taste the ultimate freedom that we otherwise wouldn't have tasted while still living under the opinions of other people. We have the capacity to allow ourselves to chase those dreams that society might suggest we shun away. Or, now we have the capacity to speak the truth all the time because we are no longer afraid of what other people think about us. There's an enormous release of energy once we get used to living this way. It would almost feel like a relief to us because these energies, these unspoken words, these unexpressed feelings have been buried deep within the unconscious. They are already there, but we are too afraid of the consequences of doing or saying anything that's aligned to our authentic being. Sometimes, the things we fear most are the things that we should do, and most of our fears come from the judgments of other people. There will be no subject of fear if we are living all by ourselves, all alone in this universe. But that's just impossible. We still have to live in the world and engage in the worldly activities. But it would be good practice if we were to ask ourselves this question: what would I do if I'm the only person left on this earth? Thank you for watching.